it is Dave. It is Duncan, back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. For this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from Philadelphia garage rock band Timelost. The band's new album, Drained, will be released on February 23rd via Church Road.
Sorry.
Born out of a dispersed network.
It's the sound that you hear at night when you're walking up a dark alley and you turn onto Church Road.
Alright.
Oh, you're like, oh shit. Need to hurry.
Run, Bob. Born out of a dispersed network of friends collaborating digitally, Timelost has undergone a remarkable evolution since their inception. The band has since found its footing in a sound that pays homage to the great alternative rock bands of the past while incorporating a contemporary influence. Drained represents the latest chapter in Timelost's musical pilgrimage, recorded and mixed by the skilled hands of fellow Philadelphian Scoops Dardaris.
Scoops.
No, known for his work with Prince Daddy and the Hyena. They are gutting a body
Also
of...
a reporter as well.
They are gutting up...
Moonlights is a sound production guy, but also at the weekend, he's getting the inside scoop.
I just figured out where you were going with that there.
What did you think I was going to
Is he really a reporter?
1940s reporter.
The album
Excuse me,
boasts...
Mr. Mayor. Is it true that you took bribes for the election? Skips is on the case.
The album...
I'm pretty sure Skips would fucking fold me like an accordion, so
Probably.
I want to apologise in advance for any ill will my little Joshiness caused. I apologise now.
He's probably not coming over to Scotland anytime soon, Duncan. You're probably
Yeah,
fine.
but I don't know when I'm going to Philadelphia. Come off the plane.
All right.
There's a sign saying McLeish motherfucker. You know what I mean? I don't want that.
McLeish motherfucker. I'm Scoops McGee. I'm gonna kick your cunt in. Scoops Dardara, Stephen.
Yeah, Scoops McGee.
Scoops McGee just sounded better. The album boasts a rich and dynamic production that brings the band's sound to a new height. Mastered by Matt Poirier, a luminary in the field whose portfolio includes The War on Drugs, The National, and Clap Your Hand, Say Yeah.
I love that new The National album.
Oh.
Apparently, so did everyone else. A lot of traction. It's one of those ones where you kind of feel like you're like that. Oh, no, I'm an adult now because I can listen to The National.
Right.
I'm looking at you and I can tell that you've never fucking listened
Nope.
to anything by The National.
Not a note.
You're still young at heart, Dave. Some growing up to do.
And in the face, obviously. Timelost invites listeners to embark on a journey through the raw, unapologetic energy of Drained. Shane on guitar and vocals has this to say about the album. Drained is about the continuous beating of life, the state of the world, personal responsibilities, socialising, being in a band, all of it just being exhaustive and wanting to burn it down or run away. I feel you, Shane. We originally wrote...
Oh, yes. 42-year-old Duncan McLeish says, let me sign that yearbook.
We originally wrote 7 songs. It felt tired and too similar to our previous stuff, so we dropped almost all of them and started new. We leaned into a more simple and fun approach to songwriting and ended up writing 18 songs over 2+ years. Drained is the best 10. So, album 2 from Timelost, which follows up their 2019 album, Don't Remember Me for This, and also their 2021 EP, Gushing Interest. So, what do we think of the new Timelost album? Duncan, tell me about it, my friend.
Dave, there's a lot to like here. There's a lot to like.
Right, okay.
Here. This speaks a lot to me as someone
Good.
who.
Good start.
It's interesting. There's a theme going on in the old Davey picks this week for our collection. Once again, follow the t-shirts. You'll see when we're recording them.
So,
But you're hitting some sweet spots for me in music,
Oh,
like
right,
eras that evoke a time period for me that when you are kind of when you're immersed in, it's difficult not to kind of feel the way you did back then. For me, the 90s were a weird decade with some strange highs and dizzying lows. But one thing that kind of kept me going all the way through was a bit of a love for guitar-driven.
Oh, right, okay.
What was that?
Sorry. Masturbation, no. Totally wrong.
Not to music.
Not just in general.
Never
that kept
to
you
music,
going,
Dave. Never to. How fucking dare you right now?
Well, it depends
Coming
on music.
in my house and in my crib, bring this shit.
Listen, bit of Kenny G, bit of masturbation.
You never
I'm
masturbate to Kenny G.
What?
You never master. No.
It's the ultimate masturbator.
Always
album.
Bjork.
Oh no!
To mask the hills, Dave. It's like, oh, he's singing to Bjork again. Always. See, you open the door, I will walk through that door.
My mouth shut.
Always keep it locked. Don't even shut it. Lock it, Dave. Put the 2 locks on. Check through that peephole. There's like I have a weird nostalgia for kind of 90s kind of alt grunge stuff. Which weirdly I was never hugely into at the time. I think I got into Nirvana after Kurt Cobain died. Not long after he died, mind you, but after he died. I got into Weezer by the time they released the Green album, so I'd missed the formative Pinkerton release. So I was always kind of like about 3 years late, or like a seminal album was the one before the one they released.
Yeah.
But I still go back and I listen to a lot of that stuff. And weirdly, through this channel, we've kind of encapsulated and caught up with a lot of that, whether it's continue listening to bands like Weezer, which I won't mention a few times during this review, but the kind of re-emergence of that sound, whether it's the kind of grunge-esque attitude that seems to be working its way through several releases in the kind of doomy, sludgy world right now, bands like Mountaineer, I'm looking at you, that are encapsulating bits of that, or even my most played album last year, which was by Teenage Wrist, which was a big old dose of fucking 90s grunge. It's still there, it's still working its way through, and it kind of feels like there's a lot more bands just like happy to wear it on their sleeve. We were huge fans of, and woefully underrepresented online, Liotta Soul, who are this German, I think it's a 3-piece, who do kind of grungy, punky, alty 90s stuff, and it's so fucking good, man. Like that album is so fucking good, and I think we were the only ones. So much so the band were like, thanks for reviewing us, because no one else is talking about us. So like within like about a minute of Lockjaw, the opening track, I was like, I kind of hope this is an album of this, because that's kind of what I want. And guess what, ladies and gents? It's an album of that. The band don't shy away from their sound at all, or their influences, but in a nice way. Like, I think the biggest aid they have here on delivering this album is the production. This production it's like a cleaned 90s. It's like someone found a CD from the 90s and went to put in and went, oh, there's a wee scratch, just clean it with my t-shirt. Always cleaned a CD. If it skipped a track, a couple of rubs on the t-shirt in there.
All good.
Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. There's a bit of Weezer in here, there's a bit of Smashing Pumpkins, there is a bit of the Pixies, there's just a lot of good shit going on. And the band don't shy away from it. They kind of cohesively weave it into their sound. And aided with that production, what you get is something that feels like authentically good. It's like it's not a kind of a modern reimagining of a sound. No, this is the sound. Like the band are just born at the wrong time. They're born maybe 30 years too late. But actually, the album itself, as a complete piece, fits comfortably in with the styles, the sound, the aura of that kind of early to mid 90s era, kind of grungy, kind of pop punky, alty sort of sound. What you get on the guitar is this really kind of jingly jangly, indie punky sort of sound they've got. which predominantly rules most of the sound until the bits where they have to break into a bit of a you're like, it's hard not to smile at that. The drum production ain't fucked with at all. That I love it. It's got a nice natural kind of in-roomy sound. Like I can almost picture where all the mics are. I kind of love that thing about it. Love the vocals on this. He's like a more alt-A Rivers Como. I joked before we started recording. I did a little bit because it's hard not to when you talk about Weezer, and he doesn't lean too much into that. He's got a little bit more grit behind these vocals, a little less polish, a little more conversation, Dave, a little less action, and it really works for them overall. I suppose, from my point of view, if you're looking for something. This is the reverse review of what I've just recorded. If you're looking for something that reinvents the wheel, this ain't it. Timelost have not come out with a, you know what 90s alt grunge punk should sound like? This. No, what they've said is, remember the best of that, and here's more of it. I found this incredibly engaging. I found it very easy to listen to. I found it had a whole lot of depth, more depth than I was expecting, actually, because when bands try to sound like bands of a bygone era, I always kind of feel a bit of cynicism in there. A little bit of, this will appeal to a younger market, but also an older market. I didn't get that with them. I kind of just felt like this is what they do, having not listened to any of their previous stuff. I don't know how much in keeping it was with this. I am surprised they had 15 songs that they could shelve. To me, this kind of blows my mind a little bit. And if this is the best 10 songs that they had, I think they picked the best 10 songs. I think it flows really, really good as an album. It has plenty of twists and turns. It never really strays too far from the path. The longest song on here is about 6 minutes, and there's not another song here that goes above 4. So they spend a bit more time with Cranium Dent, kind of really fleshing that one out. It actually sounds really good because it kind of feels like you're rewarding yourself. That track itself is sandwiched in between a track that doesn't even go like a ball here over 2 minutes and one that hardly goes over 3. So it kind of feels like they've paid a bit of attention to that. They don't want to lose too much interest by getting too up their own ass. And yeah, I've said it before, going to link back on it. Production work on this is chef's kiss good. It reminds me, as someone that's still unashamed goes back and listens to bands like Weezer or I will listen to like Smashing Pumpkins. I'll listen to Weezer. I go through a lot of phases. Weezer's a good one on the treadmill because you can sing a lot of the choruses while being completely out of fucking breath. But I did. It reminded me of that. It reminded me of kind of first 3 albums Weezer, not kind of later doing Weezer. It just has that kind of raw 90s feel about it, and I really like it. There's a whole market out there for this. Like, there are pages and pages in the book of market people research for people that are into this just now. It'll scratch your nostalgia itch. There's a lot of people that are kind of pining for it now. Like I mentioned before, we both really liked that Teenage Wrist album last year, and it got a lot of traction. Turns out they're not the only band doing that at the moment. There's a lot of that out there, and I think Timelost have kind of joined the ranks there. It's not groundbreaking. Can't stress that enough. They're not like going into a little small jazz element in anything here. It kind of goes the way it's going. Actually, it's one of those albums that comfortingly, as tracks were going on, I was like, oh, modulate, and then they modulated, and I was like, yes, still got it. I predicted pretty much how the whole album was going to sound track by track. And I kind of loved the fact that it didn't go too off the beaten track. They're really good at what they do, and what they do is what they should keep doing. Some bands just are meant to sound a certain way, and they sound that way. So yeah, I had a lot of fun, Dave, with Timelost.
I think I'd heard. I think it was the first single, "Eternal Vibe," was the track that I heard, and I was like, all right, okay. This has got there's a wee there's a wee bit of the Turnstile happening here in this track.
Turnstile are a band that have kind of... I think that's why there's a lot of bands coming out that are capturing an older sound. Because Turnstile are like, here is the door open.
Yeah.
Look at this bounty of stuff that you can take from the past. Like,
I was up for that. The track did have like other things going on, other things thrown into the mix. A little bit more alternative, almost kind of like power pop esque at times as well. So I felt like this is one that maybe requires a bit more digging into. And yeah, the album kind of sits into that in that kind of sphere of alternative, grungy, garage rock with that kind of shoegazy atmosphere. They use the term grungegaze a lot to kind of describe their
kind of
sound.
love that. I mean, it fits. It's not too far off the mark, to be honest.
It isn't. It's not too far away at all. It does have shades of Turnstile and the kind of more alternative edged moments, but then you've got that like kind of poppier Weezer kind of characteristic. And some of the vocal hooks, a little bit kind of Dinosaur Jr. in the grungier side as well.
Fuck's sake, man! I'm going to listen to some Dinosaur Jr. later on.
Nice. So there's they've got that shoegazy or grungegazy kind of foundation, but they're blending in other ideas to kind of keep you more engaged. We reviewed an album last week which kind of sat in that kind of like alternative shoegaze realm.
Yes, we did actually.
And that I felt like that album was it was a wee bit too safe for me overall. I think it stuck to that style and to that pace, and it wasn't the most memorable.
For the length,
it wasn't the most memorable album.
At all.
This album from Timelost has got a similar vibe, but it's quite a chilled album, but it has a little bit more variance in the pace and the style. It's not a complete home run, and I'll come back to that. There are a couple issues for me, but I did enjoy this more than the album that we reviewed last week. I think I like the fact that from song to song, they generally switch the speed or the rhythm of the track, which I quite enjoyed. That was something that other album we reviewed was kind of missing. Lockjaw, the opening track, is quite a gentle introduction to the band and to the album. It leans more on the kind of alt shoegaze side of things, and it's kind of like texture and it's kind of pace. It's quite a kind of hazy kind of opener. It's also like 2 minutes 40 something, so it's not like a track that really overstays its welcome at all. And then you jump right into Combustion Dance, which is a bit more upbeat, and that it's got more of a kind of almost kind of garage rock kind of guitar style, but with a more kind of Weezer type vocal in the chorus. Out with the alternative and the kind of grungegaze, the album does also have quite a kind of nostalgic kind of punk feel to it in the guitars at times, and you can hear it. I noticed it first in Diet Strangers, where the chords they're using are very like 70s 80s punk,
kind of jingly jangly as well. It's like it's like very kind of, there's not much bleed after it's very 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 muted. It's cool.
And they kind of scatter that throughout the album in small little bits. Wet J was probably the one for me that had the biggest, that kind of wave of nostalgia and a kind of like Ramones or kind of Buzzcocks kind of type way. And as a fan of that style and that era, I quite enjoyed the band's like venture into that kind of time period. I think that style added in, that it works really well against that kind of grungier or more kind of garage rock tone on the album. It didn't feel like too much of a stretch stylistically to add that in. And as a kind of whole, the album is a fairly easygoing listen. As you said, there's nothing here that really like overly surprises you. It sits in quite a kind of upbeat type vibe, with a very very rare venture into something a little darker or heavier. I found like the end of Another Casualty of Me, they started to use some quite interesting chords right at the end of that track, which kind of switches the tone a little bit, and I quite liked that. I wouldn't be against them doing more of that, but like I understand their vibe is mainly on the kind of brighter side of things. For me though, I think some darker elements might help make some of these tracks a little bit more
miserable bastard
distinctive,
honestly.
Maybe. I felt like everything was done quite subtly on this album. And every track that came in, it had a shade of another band. And that
You're not wrong there.
that was my kind of main kind of gripe with it. That almost feels like
reviews. This is the weirdest fucking thing ever.
Yeah.
It's like you're spitting my words back at me.
it just felt like this sounds like a lighter version of the band's influences, and not enough of the band's personality kind of coming through on it. I felt like I thought Shane had a really good voice, stylistically and kind of texturally. It pretty much stays the same throughout the album. It doesn't really veer into anything different. It is quite kind of poppy with that alternative kind of angle to it. As I said, it reminded me of kind of Weezer and Turnstile at times, but some of the harmonies actually reminded me of Touch Fuzzy Get Dizzy at times, which was quite cool. It's a very, very solid. It's not a bad performance at all, but there was also nothing there that I was like really grabbed me and stayed with me afterwards as well. The vocal ideas are quite recurring throughout the album, so by the time I got to the last quarter of it, I felt like maybe I was starting to hear the formula, kind of too many times by I kind of got to that last part of the album. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it wears a lot of its influences on its sleeve, and it's not the most innovative thing I've ever heard, but I did enjoy the blend, and it's got a very feel-good kind of vibe to it, which I enjoyed. I think the production is spot on. I think it's perfectly suited to the style. The drums have got a really good punch to them. The mix and the balance and everything is really good. And there's a nice, like, healthy amount of reverb on the guitars to make it sound full, but not too much that overpowers the bass or the vocals. So yeah, a lot to enjoy. I think it was just for me. I think I just wanted a little bit more from the band themselves to show me like who they actually are, rather than just hearing all these kind of other influences on the album. With that in mind, what is your score for the new Timelost album?
I wonder if we've completely switched scores. This is a 3.5 for me. Where are you coming in?
I'm coming in at a 3.
All right, so slightly higher than my previous ones.
Yeah, a little bit. I thought it was enjoyable. I just need more character from. Give me a little bit more character from the band. But yeah, interested to hear where they're going to go next with this one.
Would you be against or with the inclusion of a cowbell?
Always include the cowbell.
Well, there you go, ladies and gents. Would it get an extra 0.5 from you if there was a wee cowbell in there?
Quite possibly, Duncan. I'm
well,
not gonna lie.
There you go. The band are checking this out. Cowbell on the next album. Guaranteed a 3.5.
Timelost Drained, February 23rd on Church Road Records. Links below to the band and to the pre-order as well. Have a little listen, check out, see what you think. That is the review. Thank you for checking out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.